Dear Dhamma friends, today is the 6th day in our retreat. Accordingly, we are going to have the 6th talk in the series. To start the Dhamma talk, you may give the consent 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Chattaro me bhikkhave ahara bhutanang va sattanang va titya sambhavesinang va nugaya katame chattaro kabalinkaro aharo olarikang va sukumang va passo dutiyo mano sancetana tatyo viññānaṁ catuttanti ti. Dear Dhamma friends, we have taken this throughout Maha, Thanha, Sankhaya, Sutta as the main topic for the series that you can refer to the middle length of saying of the Buddha. This will be like Sutta number 38. And it is basically teaching how to do away with this craving. The name suggests Thanha, Sankhaya, that means to getting rid of desire. And so there are 2 suttas, of course, Maha Thanha Sankhaya and Chula Thanha Sankhaya, that's a minor way and the greater way. This is the second one, the greater one. And it has its own historical background, whereby during the time of the Buddha, there was one monk. He was with a wrong view, pernicious view, as to this very consciousness is eternal. It is the one going one life to the other. So knowing that the other monks tried to correct him and telling him that it is not parallel with the teaching of the Buddha, he was not happy, and therefore ultimately case went to the Buddha and confronting the person, the Buddha made it clear he never mentioned that any eternalistic view or any nihilistic. Instead, he chose the dependent origination. So how one disciple of the Buddha going to say this very Vijnana is eternal. So that is the starting point, the history. And then after making that point clear to the congregation of the monks, the Buddha took a chance to give that very long explanation. If someone really knows what does it mean by consciousness, or how does it arise, and he or she will understand the consciousness arises due to its specific causes or specific nutriments with the specific proximate cause. So when and where someone to see the arising of the consciousness is not already decided one, it is decided then and there, as and when the nutriments and the proximate cause is arising. So that will lead for that particular person to understand, as and when this nutriment ceases to exist, the consciousness going to ceases to exist. So that is how the continuity or flux is going on. And when and where the consciousness is being treated like that, in this theoretical way, that very theory is applicable for not only to the consciousness as one of the 5 aggregates, it is common to all the 5 aggregates. So that means one can practice, one can focus the attention either to one's own materiality, one's own body, the corporeality, and there also if someone see its mere arising, not only the arisen one, mere arising one, that is going to open the door as to each and every arising, each and every tiny micro arising has its own nutriment or proximate cause, and without that, that arising never happens. And not only that, whenever this proximate cause ceases to exist, that very materiality ceases to exist. And that is equally, that same formula you can apply to the feelings, you can apply to the perception, you can apply to the volitional activities and the very consciousness too. So when and where that is being understood, one can see each and every aggregate, out of 5 aggregates, each and every one has its own arising, its own proximate cause, and when and where this proximate cause ceases to exist, the very continuity break to exist. So that is a very good way one can understand. If you wish to have very healthy continuity of the 5 aggregates, you have to take care about the 5 or the nutriments, and if you wish to see the cessation of it, you have to take care about not to give the nutriments. So therefore, if someone says his 5 aggregates or existence or life is suffering, that particular person should understand that suffering happened because knowingly or unknowingly that particular person is nourishing, fertilizing, make sure that proximate factor is almost in continuity. That is how he or she is maintaining this, her or his body, the corporeality, his or her feelings, perception, volitional activities and the consciousness. So therefore, by understanding that, one has to take one's own responsibility, in the sense there is no second person involved in inflicting suffering. That very person is the one, the very person is the one responsible for one's own suffering, and is the one very responsible about if he or she is willing and wishing the cessation of suffering also. So for that, one has to have this kind of a theoretical understanding or book knowledge, and with that book knowledge, if someone is going to take serious consideration, that is to say deductive thinking or inferential understanding, he or she can put it to practice. So when and where one to be seriously understand the root cause or the nutriments for the 5 aggregates, Buddha, furthering his discourse, he says, for all the 5 agglomerations, there are common 4 nutriments. That is, out of his omniscient knowledge, he says, Chattaro me bhikkave ahara. O monks, according to my omniscient knowledge, all these 5 aggregates are nourished by 4 kind of nutriments. Namely, it is helping, may help maintain the already arisen beings, or maintaining of the arisen beings, and facilitating beings are yet to arise. So first and foremost is the physical food, that is we call chewable and eatable, drinkable, and that without that the physical body cannot exist, feelings cannot exist, and perception, volitional, and the consciousness. And the second one is the contact. So without contact, again the feeling, perception and volitional activities cannot take place. So each and every time there are huge possibilities. Whatever the possibility going to collapse once contact happens. If the contact never going to take place, they remain as possibilities. So there is no labeling, not possible as to say this is a kind of a feeling, or this is a kind of a perception, this is a kind of myself, this kind of mind, and all the kind of happen after the contact. So therefore contact is the one deciding or collapsing into the manifestation or into being. So before contact, there is no possibility. It is only remain as a possibility. So therefore, contact is responsible and work as a root cause, as a nutriment for all the 5 aggregates to arise. The third one is the mental volition. That volition itself is one of all the 5 aggregates. And that again help promote the other, help promote as a nutriment also. So therefore, the volitional activity or consciousness connected with this relationship with this materiality, feeling, perception and the consciousness, one aspect. And how this volition is going to facilitate or going to give the fertilizing and the nutriment to the materiality, feelings, perception, also yet another one. So therefore, out of these 5 aggregates, the very volitional activity playing a very deep, primordial, intrinsic kind of a role. And ultimately, once it comes into being, it works as one of the 5 aggregates also. So therefore, when and where the literature is to be translated into English, it is a very difficult task as far as this the volition is concerned. Therefore, Westerners, or in the sense people think in Western way, they found many shades of meaning to this term, Sankhaya, that is the volitional activities, and many Sri Lankans, those who are engaged in translation, they find it is not only difficult in the translation, even if you are to study in very Pali itself, it has a lot of nuances, it has a lot of shades of meaning, and put into Sinhala, or it is somewhat parallel with the Pali, even then it is very difficult to complete concrete understanding about this volitional activity. So therefore you have to look at it from all the possible perspectives, then only one can understand it. Even then it is just enough for you to get the pragmatic usage, but you can't claim that you know it. That so much it is involved. So that is why yesterday, after introducing this mental volition or volitional activities, I thought of taking that itself as a subtopic for the today's talk. So, before the enlightenment, the Buddha to be, of course, was searching about as if what is the real truth. That is called King Satchakavesi, a kind of a quest, asking what is the truth. And by that time, he had a fair understanding about what does it mean by the moral training. And so he was so compassionate, he never violating or transgressing the social code. And he had his own responsibility towards the ethical values, ethical responsibility. On top of that, he had a very good understanding, mastery towards the concentration. He was very successful disciple of the great masters regarding the concentration also. But even then he found there's a kind of underlying tendencies. He was such a moral being, and he can bring the concentration also at the utmost high level, but even then he find often these underlying tendencies and his the utter friction, the suffering is there. So that is why he went in search is what he have achieved on the moral sphere as well as the concentration sphere is not enough. There is something under the carpet or behind the screen. So therefore he was searching again and again. Soon after the enlightenment, there was an utterance It's called Udana. He says, Aneka jati sansarang sandha visangani visangahakaranga vesanso dukkha jati punapuna. Long way of history, way back in the history, I was going from one life to the other and with the same quest, Aneka jati sansarang, and finding the cause for this perpetuation, for this continuation of the suffering. I never found the root cause. As far as I do not know the root cause, I was again and again falling into the same trap. Aneka jati sansarang sandha visangani visan gahakarang gavesanto. His epithet was, I was searching about this housemaker, house builder. When and where I become a male or female or whatever may be, he considered this very body as a house. By the time he comes to know, house is already built. So his only task is to claim that house is mine, it is me, it is my soul, and then it is mere the continuity of the suffering, continuity of the friction, continuity of the neurosis, continuity of the frustration, continuity of the tension. So then, how can I see the beginning of this suffering? The moment after the enlightenment, he told, I saw the fellow. I got caught the fellow, and that is with the house builder. He referred it as visankhara gatan chittam. I managed to make my mind free of volition. And then onward, I can understand how the new volition going to start. Visankhara gatan chittam Thanha kayamajjada. Gahakaran dittosi punagehanna kasti. Then thread the house builder, I saw the bloody fellow. You can't make more houses for me. And how was his interpretation was, I break off all the roof and all the rafters and everything. I managed to make my mind free of mental volition, and that means I can go to the understanding of the mechanism of the desire, and that's the end of it. No more house building. So that indicates, whenever you can understand the behavior of this volition or sankhara, it is going back to the rock bottom, going to the datum line, and there you can study how the next chapter is going to start, how it was in the beginning of this life, or if I am going to have another life in future, or going to have another hope in the next thought moment, how it is happening. So that was a breakthrough. Until that, he never thought of sharing with others. He was so practicing himself, and that made a big difference. Therefore, that indicates his very thorough understanding on this volitional activity made the real change. So then onward in his teaching, specifically if you follow the Anapanasati Sutta, that is to say mindfulness on in-breath and out-breath, he teach this volitional activity, as far as this ramification is concerned, it happened in 3 stages. The very first thing is the mental ramification or mental volition, mental preparation, mental makeup, and that happened at the very rock bottom, or it is, we can say, under the carpet. And upon that only verbal ramification, verbal miscommunication going to take place. Upon that only physical misbehavior and transgressional activity is going to happen. So therefore, if someone wish to understand the crux of it, the center of it, one has to start the training right from the physical misbehavior. That is the point where the ethical training, sila sikha, come into being. So therefore, if someone to understand the theory and put into practice, The Buddha never going to teach them right from the beginning of the mental volition. He says that volitional activities, if you grab hold, if you have to restrain, if you have to discipline, to start with the Kaya Sankhara. Kaya Sankhara means the bodily activities, and they are, you find, the bodily activities are two types. One thing conscious, the other one is unconscious. Or with your active participation or your passive participation. So this ethical training or moral training is only limited to your active participation. So that is a very big understanding one has to really internalize. Buddha never asked someone to control his asanskarika or involuntarily happening things or passive or unconscious activities you can't restrain. So don't worry about that, because this kind of passive or unconscious activities are not going to make any karmic process. They become nullified then and there. So therefore training must be limited to your volitional or active participation or conscious thing. So they are being enumerated, telling that killing, as far as you do consciously, as far as you have with the motivation, that's the only thing you can take care. That's the only is something related to the religious activity or spiritual activity. But living means you are killing. You can't live without killing. Some part you know and are responsible, other part you don't know, and even though it is happening. So the Buddha was very concerned about, he is not asking you to restrain yourself towards this passive killing or unconsciously happening what is happening. Whenever you are drinking water, whenever you are smelling the in-breath and out-breath, whatever you eat, so much of living particles are there. So only don't do in an intentional way. So as far as you are not doing any intentional killing, that you can say morally you are pure. Or you can say that is only the responsibilities towards the morality and ethics. So that is one has to specifically, I would say, mendicants, the yogis should understand we have only limited responsibility. We must take care not to kill intentionally, not to kill volitionally, not to kill actively, but you have to understand survival of the fittest means everyone depending on someone. And in the animal kingdom you can see each and every weak animal is going to become a prey to the stronger, and that is how the food chain is going. And stealing, and if you are really going to analyze, you purchase something if it is profitable. Otherwise you don't purchase something, and there also you gain something. But it is the normal, conventional way. But if you are going to misappropriate something not given, that is being considered as misappropriation, and you have to do away with that. And sexual misconduct also, sexual moral conducts are there, misconducts are there. So you have to restrain from the misconduct. But if you are going to take the 8 precepts or going to be a novice or high ordained, no kind of sexual activity you are observing the celibacy. So these are the points where you have to understand the physical activities are concerned. That's a active part and passive part. And when you come and sit here, that is why it says don't do forced breathing. Let the breathing to take place through your involuntary muscles. Your attention must be to the breath that is happening by itself. Then if you are going to do forced breathing, you never give a chance for this volitional activity is to cease to exist. You are rather violating it. You are agitating it. So therefore, whatever the action you in the sitting, let the sitting body to rest, relax, symmetric. And just see what is happening even without any your involvement, without your active participation, but still you can see kind of a process is going on. I think that itself is enough. And some people, when that part is explained, they go into very deep layers, something to say, you symmetrically sit or relaxed way you sit and fix the attention to here, now, I am. And there you can see, yes, it's an experience to see, it is constantly feeding, telling that I am not dead, telling that I am not sleepy, telling that I am not unconscious. And that is a real kind of a start, very healthy start, and very deep start. If you can keep your stream of consciousness that, I think long story you can cut very short. But it has become so much unfamiliar for us because our mind is so much conditioned to have different seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, and all the action-packed life. So therefore, whenever it comes back to the minimum bare, it appears like something boring and something strange. You don't feel like at home. So that is why the breath is going to mediate the situation, because breath has a cyclic pattern. If you go to here now I am, it is not cyclic. It is just like a horizon. But if you look the breath, it is like a waves at the shallow water. So people are very happy to play with the waves and with the shallow water, but if you look at the horizon, it is flat. Exactly the way, if you just merely go and sit and pay your attention to here now I am sitting, you can see continuity, but it is very boring. You never feel it as spiritual. Never feel it as something religious. Never feel it as something you achieved. So therefore you want to have something. That is why it says, or if you wish to play with the waves. That it is happening in the shallow water. So that is how the in-breath and out-breath going to happen. So first and foremost, what you do is calming down the breath body. But I have to again explain, the breath is something passive. So breathing, something happening. I'm discreetly say it is not a forced breathing. Breathing takes place, but if you are not get worked up, if you understand the whole effort here is to see from the gross breath to subtle breath to subtlest breath. This transition, this calming down is the what we are monitoring. The early part of your meditative life or early part of your sitting, each and everyone is observing the gross part. Whenever the gross part is happening, the cyclic pattern is there. In-breath versus out-breath, you can understand, you can list the individual characteristic, natural characteristic, intrinsic characteristic, personal characteristic. So, mind can engage with scientific way. But what happens is, ultimately, all these natural characteristics are becoming faded off. Ultimately, the common character come into being. Again, it is not cyclic. It is again back to the horizon. When that goes to, you can say your bodily activities are now being calmed down. And you can't feel the body. If you successfully see this wave or this calming down of the breath, you can see from the gross to the subtlety, perceivable to unperceivable, and you feel. But while it is happening, in the early part of your meditation, you sometimes use the noting. Noting is verbally you say in-breath, out-breath, not the verbally, mentally you say, note it, in-breath, out-breath, that is to say, the verbal volitional activity. Applying the mind to the particular object and understanding that particular object, they are called vitakka and vichara. Vitakka means you are applying the noting mind, applying the mindfulness to the in-breath as in-breath happens. So you know now mind is face-to-face with in-breath. And vichara is to touch it and to see what are the individual characteristics of the in-breath, what are the natural characteristics of the in-breath versus to out-breath. So therefore it is not going and coming, but it's touch and try to feel it. So these two are called the crux of articulation, verbalizing, and verbal volitional activities. So at the beginning you apply it, but after a while when the in-breath and out-breath difference is disappearing, no more you can apply this noting. Noting also slowly ceases to exist. And there you must withdraw it as a technique and then mind start to calm down. So while the bodily activities are calming down, while the breath is calming down, at a time you can make use it if you wish. And then even if you are using it or not, slowly it is calming down as the breath is becoming calmed, subtle and subtlest. So that means that as far as the breath is calmed down, you manage to calm down the physical volitional activities or physical activities and the verbal activities. So this indicates the success of your meditation. That means now you are mindful but without any object. Now you are mindful without any sign. Now you are mindful without any cyclic pattern, no amplitude, but everything flat off. But that is the point. Many people understand something as if something wrong, or sometimes it's boring, sometimes falling into sleep, and sometimes feel like again introducing forced breathing, so to see the wave action, because wave action is very easy to perceive. When it's flat off, mind is disinterested. Or in the sense, as far as it is a wave, you are in samsara. As far as it is in a wave flat off, you are in nibbana. So when and where it is leading to nibbana, you find it's boring. You're monotonous, very sleepy. You feel like lost. You feel like outcasted. You feel like disinterested. So that when it is, so you have to understand by this way of practice, where it is very patiently applying again and again, you make this wave action into a flat off area. So even if it is happening due to the good technique, your appreciation of the very flattening off of the wave is a completely different story. So that decides whether you are with correct view or you have the correct approach, reflection. And therefore, at that level, as far as you are calming down the kaya sankhara and vachi sankhara, mental formation and the verbal formation, a lot of interviews, a lot of discussions, and a lot of rapport is very important. Otherwise, each and every improvement in the meditation you misunderstand as something wrong, as something going boring, as personal mistake, or as it's something that your moral background is bad, I have my original sin, or original guilt, or I am not suitable. When and where I go to meditation, I feel like it is boring. So therefore, there are correct interpretation, interviews, discussions, and the rapport will be there. So if we are to go into this mental formation, then only you comes to know, even though there is no any sign, even though there is no object as such, that is to say, no, you can't discriminate the primary object and the other objects, secondary objects. They are, in the sense, they are at the periphery level, but they are only possibilities. Nothing manifests. So you can be in the center. You can have your solitude. You can have your freedom to a certain extent. You can have your peace of mind to a certain extent. You can let loose all the responsibilities, and I would say this is the point where you put the plane into autopilot. So now the machine can take care. It is well above the sea level, so therefore the captain can put everything into the machine and autopiloting can take place. But even the autopiloting happening, the mano sankhara, the mental volitions are going to active. The mental volition have no role to run, therefore it is making so much of fuss and developing so much of doubts, entertaining doubts, or feel like that you have to do something. Yeah, either to get up and go, or think about something. So there are a lot of kind of habitual thinking going to happen according to your personality trait, according to your own likings and dislikings. So you must observe at that level, at that junction, what is happening is worth calling, who am I? But the thing is that thing happens, you observe as if a second person. When you're observing without reaction, without assuming, without agitating the situation, it is not a science, it is an art. So therefore, then onward, that particular person has to understand even the physical formation and the verbal formation somewhat benumbed, somewhat become tamed, docile. The mental formations are not under control. So they play hell. So the Buddha says, at that time the vijnana, the very consciousness, finding no footage, so therefore it has no hope regarding the physical formation and the mental formation because they are under control. So vijnana and the mental formations are playing a game, justifying themselves, so therefore you feel sometimes, what about teaching my dear and near ones about the spiritual state? Is it a meritorial thing? Why not? So you get up and start writing an essay or letter or cell phone to the other people. It's a wonderful state. Why don't you come and join? And this is how it happened. That is how it happened. So everything, every time you are going to proliferate like that, you are losing very solitude. You are losing very freedom, peace of mind. Or otherwise you think that after so much of effort only I come up to that level, just being is not enough, but must be the next step. And thinking about how to accelerate it, how to be smart, how to achieve in this very sitting, the highest goal. Likewise mind is like the donkey chasing behind the carrot, keep on running. And that also merely you can get worked up with, warmed up with, activated with. Or sometimes you feel now even the breath is not available, but about having some forced breathing and see, again something object. So likewise the mental volition is going to play all its tricks that each and everyone invariably indicate who am I, when and where there are no sensuous impingements as ahara or nutriments or basic needs or proximate factor. How the mind is making out of the mental calculations, imaging, hearing, all the kind of thing can happen. So this is a very mystic area. This is a kind of area you feel like you are in a half dream. You feel like you are in a half sleep. So very difficult for you to understand whether it's a concept or reality. Or it's a mind-made thing, or it is really you see something, or it's a mental hallucination. So this is the point many people claim that I achieve so much of thing, or estimation, or everything can happen, because volition wants to make some or the other story. So therefore one has to understand when and where there is no external signals, external signs, external objects, external impeachments, the mind made on its own. And you will be amazing to see that mind-made things appear more realistic than real things. That's why you get lost in this conditioning. That's why it's happening in the brainwashing. You can brainwash yourself, or you can brainwash another one also. Therefore, you have to understand what you have to do is, first, in a gradual way, in a way of restrainment, cut off as much as possible physical activities or physical formations, and then reduce the inner chatter as much as possible. Never you can go to the theoretical maximum. And then you just observe what is happening. And to observe it, you must have so much of understanding, so much of preparedness, so much of past errors, and so much of association with the other fellow practitioners. Then only you will understand just mere observation, passive observation, distance observation. That is the meaning of vipassana. And there you can say ripples are coming, waves are happening, sometimes whirlpools are happening, but again everything dissolves into the same body of water. But if you are going to decide halfway, you will recognize this as a ripple, this as a thrill, this as a wave, this as a whirlpool, and all the kind of you will get worked up. But you have to understand that every arising thing in the world are destined to cease off. So your main aim, now you are not looking at the beginning, the middle and the end of the breath. Instead you see emotions are happening, mental colorations are happening, and thinking, and a lot of projects in the mind going to happen. When it is happening, you can see even you don't have any intentional or conscious thinking, so much of thinking happens, so very difficult for you to understand that think with the thinker and think without the thinker. Sometimes you can say 100% thought without the thinker. And if you do not know, you are going to claim responsibilities for that thinking. All are often dirty, often misrepresenting. It is unbecoming. So without thoughts, mind cannot exist. So therefore it is making its own proliferation. So poor fellow, if it is not understand what is reality is, claim that it is not becoming for me to think like that. That is unrelated kind of thinking. How it comes, and what can I do, and it is defiling me and kind of thing. If you are thinking defiling, you will get defiled. If you say it is not me, it is not mine, and it is not myself, you are purified. Because they are just the superficial waves. So therefore, at that level, if you wish to calm down these volitional activities, mental volitional activities, or we can say mental preparations, mental makeup, you have to withdraw back and observe this is the human mind. This is not my mind. These thoughts are not me. They are without the thinker. So these are called asampajana manosankhara. They are without that mind cannot exist. So you have to more and more you to familiarize it. You see how is the game, how is the drama. If you have with so much of physical activities on top of that, if you have so much of verbal activities on top of that, if you have so much of active thinking on top of that, how can you study this? No way. So each and every moment you are unmindful, either you are engaged in physical activity or verbal activity or mental activity, that means you are complicating, ramifying that very particular thing. So therefore, you can't understand whether you did it or it is something happened to you. when you walk in the walking path, and when you go to the end, a nice bird, or a butterfly, or a flower. So immediately it comes striking, and you can't understand whether you look at it or you see it. Looking and seeing, completely two things. Looking, you are responsible, you are accumulating karmic forces, but seeing or viewing is something happen as far as the person who is having a living eye and the consciousness is that it happened. So if it is something you see, no crime. But if you are looking, whether it's good or bad, you are responsible. In the day-to-day activities, when we are in a carnival, or when we are in a place we have music and radios and television and kind of thing, sometimes listening happens, sometimes hearing happens. So Buddha says, your crime is, or if you get committed, only if you are listening. But hearing is a passive action. So likewise, if you observe yourself under a TV camera, you can see how many unwanted things you do within a day. When you are performing as a puppet, these things are happening, you don't know why. Many times it says when you go to a supermarket, you buy many things. When you come back home, you don't know why you bought it. The bag is full and bill also incredible. But what is the use of this back at home? But you can't do away with that. That is what it happens. So, if you do not understand the function of these volitional activities, you can see as far as you are in a momentum, as far as you are doing a lot of things with less mindfulness, you are running according to someone's agenda. Instead, if you do little activities with big mindfulness, efficient mindfulness, you can thin slice the time, so you can cut the momentum. You can see episode by episode, just like a cartoon film. When the cartoon film is running at a rate, animation is going to take place. If you show plate by plate, no animation, no drama, no theme. You can see its lines here and there, pencil lines can you see there. So to become a drama, that to become a continuity, the momentum is there. That momentum is more and more you are unmindful and let the volitional activities to take place. It creates, due to so much rotation, centripetal and centrifugal forces. These forces are not working according to your agenda. It happens only when they come up to a certain speed. You know, when a generator is running 1,500 rotations per minute, 1,500 RPM, it produces 120 or 230 voltage. When it is generator is running in the lower speed, no. Or when it is slow, no electricity. So likewise, the electricity is something, a byproduct out of this momentum, out of this fast speed. So that is why the world with fast life, leading to more and more tension, leading to more and more frustration, leading to more and more neurosis, leading to more and more mental diseases. But life with the slow life, I don't think it is completely free of the frustration and kind of, but less amount. But the fast world says these people are very lethargic, they are not productive, they are not creative, they are not scientific, they are not advancing. We are the advanced people to, Buddha says, advanced sufferers. We're claiming advanced suffering, advanced the frustration, friction, the wear and tear, heat, everything happens. So therefore, understanding that if you wish to go to the very low ebb of the mental volition, you have to first and foremost do away with the kaya sankhara, that the habitual tendencies or physical preparations, and then you have to understand the vaci sankhara, how the applied thoughts and the discursive thoughts are going to take place, and then only you can see what is happening under the carpet. And there also, whether you like it or not, it is happening in a very fast speed. That speed may be due to if you are believing rebirth coming from the past life. Or if you are in the age of 60, up to the 60, you had so much of habitual things, or likings and disliking, they have precipitated, they have made some kind of a crystallization. They keep on happening. And on top of that, you have some hopes, you have some dreams, and they also propel more and more. Ultimately, after a certain limit, go beyond control. And therefore, whenever it is going beyond control, it develops secondary forces, centrifugal, centripetus like, and then you don't know where to stop it, and what is the beginning of it, what is the middle of it, what is the end of it. So therefore, the sankhara, without sankhara, life is very boring. Life is very slow. It cannot. So therefore, certain amount of sankhara is necessary. So we don't know how much is the utility value, we don't know how much is for the usage, and how much is unwanted, and how much you are responsible, how much it is happening by itself. These things, no second person can do it for you. And if you do not know, the machine is running. It is like you become a cog in the cogwheel of the man-machine. You don't know the service you are serving. So to understand it is slowing down. For example, if you wish to understand the generator, you can't study the mechanism while it is running. You have to remove the hull and slow down the speed. Once it is completely calmed down only, you can understand how the cams are working, how the wheels are working, how the other pistons are working. But the thing is, our man-machine, we can't stop it. We stop committing suicide. So therefore, what you can do is the calming down. Calming down in the 3 layers: physical, verbal, misdeeds at the layer. That means you are do away with physical misdeeds and the verbal misdeeds, abiding by moral rules. And when you, in a sitting meditation, you assume a posture, no intentional activities. If it is happening, you are not responsible, but you make a determination not to make any conscious movements, and you assume a duty, assume a posture, and let things happen and observe more than ever. With a full attention, full mindfulness, full diligence, full vigilance, what is happening. And then you can see internal inner chatter, the verbal preparations, and of course it is not manifested yet. It is not in the verbal level, not articulated, but exactly the preparations are there. There you can understand. And it is good to make a remark in this level. We are in the 6th day and we are talking too much. I am very sorry. At the beginning I mentioned, take care about that. Now it is becoming an epidemic. Everyone say hello, goodbye, good morning, good evening, and ultimately the chatter starts. And the Burmese master, when he says, of course there are also we have a lot of international yogis, so we always socialize it. But Sayadaw was never happy. He says, if you wish to test, just have a 5-minute talk and immediately go and sit. 10 minutes at least you have inner chatter. About the 5 minutes that you have talked. So therefore, please take care. If you wish to stop, if you wish to see the calming down of the inner chatter, or I would say the mental, verbal preparation, take care about the words, how many words you are using per day on an experimental basis. And it's a huge relationship. If you are not taking care about that, definitely very difficult when you are in city. So the chatter start. And some people say it is the Western kind of thing. Western people have a lot of inner chatter. But I don't see difference. Even the Asiatic people or whatever may be, the inner chatter is there. So once that is calmed down, that is to say, the mind can easily keep the primary object face to face with, then it is calming down happen. The breath also become calm down. The mind also become calm down. The body also become calm down. And when you go to the maximum the stillness, maximum solitude, maximum freedom, maximum peace, then you can understand there's a kind of energy flow is there. You can't see any wave action, but it is just like a horizon, just like a rock bed, just like a datum line. Observe it as to see, without getting involved into that, how many minutes you can be there. The Buddha says, at that moment, there are three things. Yancha akappeti, yancha cheteti, yancha anuseti, arammana metang hoti vijnana. Now the mind, the consciousness is finding a footage because it do not entertain at that time any physical formations, no verbal formations. So therefore only the mental aspect is there. So it is trying kind of an agitation in order to get its own authority. If there is no agitation, it can't make me and not me. So in order to make me and not me, it come out with a lot of proposals. One thing is pakappeti. That means future planning. That's the time you feel mostly best time to do future planning life, but you don't know what you are foregoing. You are foregoing is your solitude, foregoing your mindfulness, foregoing the calmness, the freedom, peace of mind. But it appears like something positive and progressing. If I am not thinking about my progress, who I'm going to like that? Whenever the calmness happens, that's going to happen. Or cheteti. Cheteti means have determinations, have intentions to do this and that, or to adjust a little bit, whatever may be kind of thing. Or otherwise, anuseti means your underlying tendencies. You bought from the past life or maybe the historical tendencies, they are going to manifest. When and where it happens, the vijnana, the consciousness, going to take footage. And there, the mental volition become nutriment for the consciousness. Mental volition itself is an aggregate. Consciousness itself is an aggregate. They become interconnectedness, closed cycle. The mental volition going to give kind of a projects, kind of a activity for the vijnana to come and take the upper hand. So when that happens, you must never claim that action of the vijnana as me or myself, or action of these volitional activities as me or myself. You must learn the art of disclaiming. But you must be very vigilantly observe as if what is happening under the carpet, what is happening behind the screen, and we observe, you can see, utterly you have no say, you have no executive power, you are not the householder. It is happening something and you have no governability. But that very understanding of lack of governability is not a weakness. Buddha says that is the truth of suffering, the truth of at least the transient nature. It is in a flux. It is in a horizon, but in a flux. And don't claim it. Try to maintain at least one thought moment further. Not to agitate it. Not to give more projects. Not to expect something. Just passive observer. And when that happens, that very approach is called unassuming observation. Non-reactional observation, otherwise by mere appreciation of the activity itself, you create a self. You create a discrimination, this is good, this is bad. You find this is preferable, this is not preferable, this is liking, this is unliking, liking and disliking. And that is how the arising of very volitional activity itself give a boost to your ego. Or root cause for your ego, nutriment for your ego, your conceit, your desire. But now, if you go prepared, if you have so much of past mistakes and you know them as past mistakes, with the help of this past mistake, you can just observe as to not to involve there, not to get mixed up with there. And there you can see the nutriment, the volitional activity become nutriment, soon you appreciate it. Soon you're going to assume it. Soon you're going to react it. So therefore, non-reactional way, it is a complete potential is there. All possibilities are there. Nothing manifested. So this is the maximum of the indifference or equanimity or kind of a equipoised mind. So it's a full potential you can. So you are just like unborn baby. You can be anything. So, but the best is keep it unmanifested. Leave them as possibilities, and there you can see the maximum capacity of the being a human, not committed yet, not claimed anything, not get contacted with, and that is the way you can live asavisankharagata citta. Mind is for a short period without any volitional activity, no any determination, no any future planning, no any kind of thing. Whenever they comes, you understand that is not me. That is not what I intended. This is not mine, this is not myself, but even if you disclaim it, they are happening. There you can see it is ungovernability. You can see what even it is happening, it is in a much of a flux. And mere observation of this possibility itself is a suffering. It's torturing. It's burning. It is not due to the single aspect. It's many root cause, many causes and factors are there. They are in a flux, just like a TV screen, only with dots, without any program. You can observe it and you can understand how difficult for you to keep the mind at that state. Mind is always asking for some signs. It's always asking some objects. Always asking some waves. Also asking some friction. Asking some wear and tear. Asking some tension. Asking some event. Each and everyone is in a small way creating a small suffering, in a big way creating a big suffering. But the Buddha says there is an alternative that you can keep at a time without any kind of a friction. And that is the point, the maximum you can go, the mental volitions are calmed down to the maximum. More and more you have to practice it, you will understand the ways and means to maintain that equilibrium, maintain that balance for a longer time. That indicates your maturity. You are not going to make use that chance. You are not going to make any create out of something out of that. You keep as pure as possible, as the undisturbed as possible. And when there happen, that completely physical, verbal and mental healing or therapy going to happen. But it's a byproduct. It is not the main thing. Main thing is you understand, you develop kind of a restrainment, not in the physical and verbal, even in the mental. You can calm down, and by not doing something, or by disclaiming, or by non-reaction, or by unassuming, you can come to the unknown kind of an equilibrium. But the Buddha says, this is your real home. This is the place you started with. And from that only everything starts. So therefore, you have the potential to do everything, but keeping that potential as such, possibilities as such, without manifesting, it is something for the conventional world applies unhuman. Impossibility. But the Buddha says possible. Whenever you come to there and understand that as your home, you understand in the day-to-day activities without in the mindfulness, what the way of life. So therefore it says, at the beginning, as a spiritual seeker, you are aiming at that kind of a thought moment. And throughout you are filled with human activities. The moment you go there and understand that as your real home, here and there you can find human activities, mostly you are in the spiritual experience. This change is what we expect from the conventional truth to the absolute, or from the sentient being to become spiritual being. So it is not going elsewhere. is exactly within the capacity. And the time period also, it is your own imagination. There's no time gap. You can go quickly or slowly. It depends on the mistakes you are doing. So therefore, time and space matters if you are looking from the human point of view. But if you go to the spiritual point of view and look down the human are barely okay, no problem. They are not doing any kind of thing. But the thing is, they are masters to develop frustration. Masters to develop tension. Talk about tension. And creating again and again tension. And then neurosis. And that very neurosis is the one going from life to life. Not the vijnana or consciousness as such. So therefore, moment you see this, the arising point, the possibility, the potential, that is the point you are really be at home. So today we are on the 6th day, so I tried to bring it to a very core of the subject, but still I feel I have to deal it little furthermore. So tomorrow also I will try take time to give this same, give another viewpoint, another definition or another nuance of the Sankhara, because it has many ways. So with that remark, I would like to stop today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.